Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today we're plunging into the really remarkable life of Sultan Salahuddin Ayubi. You probably know him in the West as Saladin.
That's right, a truly iconic figure.
Absolutely. And our journey today is based on some fascinating excerpts from Salahuddin Ayubi, the Lion of Islam.
A great source for getting into the detail.
It really is. So our mission essentially is to unpack why this historical figure remains just so respected, not just in Islamic history, but world history too. We want to find those surprising facts, those key insights that, paint the full picture.
Because it's more than just battles.
Exactly. He was a brilliant military strategist, yes,
Yeah.
no doubt about that. But he was also celebrated for his chivalry, his sense of justice, even compassion, and remarkably, even by his enemies.
Which is quite rare, especially for that era.
That really is. So what made him such a unique force? Let's explore that.
Okay.
So let's begin right at the start. His full name, quite a mouthful, was Al-Nasir Salah al-Din Yusuf ibn Ayub.
Most people just stick with Salahuddin or Saladin.
Understandably. He was born in 1137 CE in Tikrit, Iraq.
Yeah.
And he passed away later in 1193 CE in Damascus, Syria.
And his background is pretty interesting, too. Kurdish family.
Right. His father, Najman ad-Din Ayub, was an officer. He served the Zengid dynasty. Now, the Zengids, they were a powerful Muslim dynasty in Syria and Iraq back then.
And his father's position meant Salahuddin's early life wasn't static. They moved around.
Yeah, quite a bit. From Tikrit to Mosul, then Aleppo, and finally Damascus. And it was in these cities that Salahuddin got a really solid education. Islamic studies, military tactics, statecraft, the works, really.
It's truly remarkable, that education. It wasn't just, learning to fight. He was deep into scholarship, diplomacy as well.
A real blend.
Exactly. That mix of intellectual rigor and practical strategy, it gave him such a unique perspective, almost like an unfair advantage maybe compared to some contemporaries.
How so?
Well, it wasn't just about knowing facts. He could integrate these different fields, military, religious, political, in a way few others could. It really set the stage for the, extraordinary challenges he'd face later on.
So he had this incredibly well-rounded preparation. Where did he first kind of put those skills to the test? It sounds like his uncle Shirkuh was important early on.
Oh, definitely. Shirkuh was key.
That's right. His military career really kicked off under Shirkuh, who was a general in the army of Nur ad-Din, the ruler of Syria at the time.
A very powerful figure himself, Nur ad-Din.
Indeed. And then things shift to Egypt. His appointment as vizier there in 1169, that seems like a truly pivotal moment.
Absolutely crucial.
He was appointed vizier by the Fatimid Caliph. Now, a vizier, for context, was basically the chief minister, a position with immense power. And the Fatimids, they were a Shia dynasty.
Which is a really important detail.
It is, because after Shirkuh died, Salahuddin made a decisive move. In 1171, he abolished the Fatimid Caliphate entirely.
Just like that, a huge shift.
Huge. He restored Egypt to Sunni Islam, aligning it under the Abbasid Caliphate. This wasn't just politics. It was a major religious realignment for the whole region.
A bold, strategic move.
And his influence didn't stop there, did it? After Nur ad-Din died in 1174, Salahuddin just rapidly expanded his reach.
He saw the opportunity.
He did. From Egypt into Syria, consolidating control over key cities like Damascus, Aleppo.
The major power centers.
Right. By 1186, he'd really cemented his power. He established the Ayyubid dynasty and became the Sultan of both Egypt and Syria.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, these moves, his skillful political and military maneuvering, they were absolutely critical.
For what lay ahead?
Precisely. He wasn't just grabbing land. He was knitting together these disparate Muslim powers into a more cohesive whole, laying the foundation, really, for a unified front against the Crusader state.
Building towards something specific.
Yeah, that consolidation was the strategic imperative. Without it, the later efforts, especially regarding Jerusalem, would have been much, much harder, maybe impossible.
And of course, Jerusalem. When most people hear Salahuddin, that's where their minds go. The Crusades and his, lifelong mission to liberate Jerusalem.
It really defined much of his career.
It had been captured by Crusaders way back in 1099, so nearly 90 years earlier. The big turning point in his mission came in July 1187, the Battle of Hattin.
A legendary battle. Utterly decisive.
He just crushed the Crusader forces led by King Guy of Lusignan. And that monumental victory, it paved the way.
Straight to Jerusalem.
Exactly. On October 2nd, 1187, Salahuddin entered Jerusalem.
Yeah.
after almost a century of Christian control.
A hugely significant moment in Islamic history.
Absolutely. But here's a crucial detail, and this is what really sets him apart in many ways. His retaking of the city was marked by, well, extraordinary mercy and tolerance.
Which was not the norm.
Not at all. Unlike the Crusaders who'd massacred Muslim inhabitants back in 1099, Salahuddin allowed safe passage to Christians. He explicitly forbade killing civilians. Now, given the context of the time, how revolutionary was that act? What message did that send?
Oh, it completely upended expectations. I mean, think about it. When the Crusaders took Jerusalem, it was a bloodbath. Brutal. Salahuddin offers safe passage, even helps some pay their ransom.
Wow.
It wasn't just mercy, it was profoundly strategic, too. It built this reputation for justice, for, dare I say, chivalry, that crossed religious divides. It humanized him.
Even to his enemies.
Especially to his enemies. European chroniclers, people writing back then who were technically his foes, often praised his conduct. Military might is one thing, but this moral high ground was something else entirely.
That act of clemency, though, it didn't stop the European response naturally.
No, the fall of Jerusalem sent shockwaves through Europe.
Right. So in reaction to Salahuddin's victories, European leaders launched the Third Crusade. And they brought the big guns, figures like Richard the Lionheart of England, Philip II of France, Emperor Frederick Barbarossa.
A formidable coalition aimed directly at him.
It's incredible the pressure he must have been under, facing armies from all across Europe.
And he met them head on.
He did. Salahuddin engaged in a series of intense battles, especially with Richard the Lionheart. The Battle of Arsuf is probably the most famous.
A tough fight. Ended largely in a stalemate, though Richard technically won the field that day.
Right. So although Salahuddin couldn't, completely push the Crusaders out, they kept parts of the coast, he maintained firm control of the main prize, Jerusalem.
Which was always his primary goal.
Absolutely. And eventually, he and Richard signed the Treaty of Ramla in 1192. Which, crucially, allowed Christian pilgrims continued access to the Holy City, a compromise.
And what's really fascinating about this whole period, this confrontation with Richard, is Salahuddin's ability to balance raw military power with really astute diplomacy.
He knew when to fight and when to talk.
Exactly.
But
he faced down these incredibly powerful adversaries, but he secured his long-term goal, Jerusalem's security, through both force and negotiation. It shows a strategic genius beyond just winning battles.
A deeper understanding.
Yeah, of political realities, of the need for a lasting arrangement, even if it meant compromises. It almost makes you wonder if some modern conflicts could benefit from that kind of nuanced approach.
That's a really interesting point. Okay, so beyond the military and political genius, let's talk about the man himself. Salahuddin Ayubi was renowned for his personal qualities. His chivalry, yes, but also unwavering justice, humility, deep faith.
And these qualities earned him respect across the board. Muslims, Christians, Jews, they all noted it.
Yeah, like in terms of justice, he was known for resolving disputes fairly, really committed to Islamic principles of governance.
Not just paying lip service to it.
No. And his generosity was apparently quite something. Despite being this incredibly powerful ruler, he lived simply, gave most of his wealth away to the poor.
Which is astonishing when you think about the power and riches at his command.
Truly. And his religious devotion was profound. Often engaged in prayers, charitable work. It wasn't just for show.
It seems deeply ingrained in his character.
It does. He passed away on March 4th, 1193, in Damascus. And here's a testament to that generosity. He apparently died with very little personal wealth left. He'd spent it all in service.
An incredible legacy in itself.
It is. His tomb is near the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus, still a place of respect, and his lasting impact, immense. Founder of the Ayyubid dynasty, sure, a symbol of Muslim resistance and unity.
Absolutely central to that narrative.
But also, remarkably, revered for his chivalry, tolerance, leadership, even in European literature from the period and later. He became this kind of figure.
Almost a legend, even among former enemies.
Yeah, a role model for leaders, balancing power with piety, with compassion.
And this really exemplifies how a leader's personal virtues, their character, can amplify their historical impact way beyond just military wins.
It resonates differently.
It really does. His character crossed cultures and centuries. It shaped not just his immediate legacy, but influenced how leadership itself is perceived. It's a powerful lesson, isn't it? That strength isn't only about might, but also about moral fortitude.
Especially when facing brutality and expectation of the same.
Exactly. Especially then.
And that really brings us towards the end of our deep dive today. Sultan Salahuddin Ayubi, just a towering figure. Islamic history, world history.
Undeniably.
A brilliant military strategist, absolutely. but also, as we've seen, a just and merciful ruler. His life really does serve as this timeless example, perhaps, of how power can be wielded with wisdom, with faith, and with compassion.
A rare combination then and now.
It feels that way. So as you go about your day, maybe consider this. How does Salahuddin's emphasis on mercy and justice, even right in the middle of brutal medieval warfare, offer a different lens on leadership? One that maybe continues to challenge our conventional ideas about conquest and power even today.
Something definitely worth thinking about.